All right, back in Denver. I feel like I'm here more than I am home now. Back in Denver at the RUPES facility. I'm going to bring you along for the ride here today. I try to capture a little different angle, make this I should never say shorter vlog because I'm incapable of doing that, but it's pretty cool. We're sitting on a couple of inches of snow. It's been a while since I've seen snow on the ground, so that's cool. But we have 30 participants, plus the guys from P&S will be here. A couple of guys from the RAG company will be here. Obviously, Jason, Dylan are hosting the training course. But this is RUPES event 2, and excited to get to know another group of people and watch them connect. That's what's the greatest part about it. So we've got a couple of cars in here. I'm gonna wash them, get them prepped. I got my black Yukon XL, which will give us lots of paint to mess with. If you haven't seen the RUPES wash bay, dang, I keep forgetting to send them. I'm gonna send a darn Mosmatic out here. Although that looks like an MTM maybe. Dylan stepped up his game. Yep, okay, we're good. SGS 28, that's good. There's the Mark IIIs. Not available yet, but will be soon. A new speed dial, new dual pads, and then the variable speed trigger. And then the ridiculously long power cords. Here's our check-in process. I think a lot of you guys know the story behind this whole event, right? One of my dreams has been to get us, who maybe aren't in the industry, access to this kind of place. And the guys at RUPES have been so gracious. When I was here with Jason training, and he's like, you could bring some people here, and then my mind exploded. I'm like, what? And then we had 50 people come the first time. There's be 30 of you here today. My whole vision or dream was to be able to get the DIYer, get the discerning, the prosumer, and then some of you guys are pros as well, but to get us access to the information that that we all desire, and there aren't many of us in this world that care about this stuff, but those of us that do, when you get the right information, I think you can conquer the world, and you can apply that to everything in your life, not just washing a car, but if you can take, like some of you guys who have other careers that are here to learn how to polish better or learn how to care for your car better, I think that's a microcosm or snapshot of the rest of your life. And so what I'm hoping you'll do here today is spend a lot of time together learning from each other. I know a lot of us, me especially, I've talked about this a lot on videos, that I have such a hard time leaving my garage by myself, and I know a lot of you are that way as well, so I would encourage you to take the time to shake somebody's hand. Try to, when they say their name, to listen, because I never do that. I'm like, hi, I'm Matt, and they say their name, and I'm already thinking about the next thing to say. So try to learn, 10 or 12 people's names, exchange phone numbers, and really get to know one another. I think we'll all be better for it. So Dylan and Jason are going to take us through, I think, a really nice combination of theory and then hands-on. Theory, hands-on. We also have Bob and Dave from P&S that'll be talking about, bead maker if you want to talk about that, but chemistry and products and detailing in general. The RAG company boys will be here in a little while to talk a little bit about microfiber at some point. But what I encourage you guys to do here today is to ask questions. It's okay if we steer this a little bit in different directions, and that's what this is about. Pneumatics, make sure you try those out. Be interested to hear if you guys think I'm nuts about loving the darn pneumatic so much. I think it's everybody's favorite tool when you get your hand on the little 3-inch LHR. I'm glad you guys are here. This is a dream of mine, to be responsible to get you here. A lot of us, we don't get access to stuff like this, so make sure you make the most of it. Ask the questions that you have and use the stuff. Try it. So thanks for coming, everybody. What I'd like you to do, just take 5 minutes and shake somebody's hand next to you, get to know, and remember to listen to their name. So let's take 5 minutes, get to know each other a little bit, and then Dylan will get us started. So this is what some of the things that we're hoping to cover by the people in the class. Okay. Jason and Dylan polled everybody, and these are some of the things that they were hoping to learn.
This gun here is chemical injection, low pressure This is a foam gun. In the summer we run a regular pH balanced car wash soap through here. In the winter, because of the calcium, magnesium, or no, magnesium chloride.
So here's how it's set up. So we have water come in into DI. DI then flows out to the RO system. So it looks like they have a line coming out. I guess this is a resin tank. Maybe this is part of the reverse osmosis. Maybe it's an iron breaker. And then RO is much slower flowing. Right, so you can't flow 10, 15 gallons a minute through a reverse osmosis system. So that's what feeds the tank. And then the cat pump they have here. Interesting that the pump is brass. There's a brass head pump. I'll have to look up. So that's a Model 2 SF30 cat pump. Interesting to see how a professional car wash system's set up. And then it's just pulling from some simple soap. So there's our soap dispensing system.
The other thing is these are adjustable with the color temperature of the light. So I can actually completely change to a very warm, which would be good for reds and light blues and light greens and things like that. Or I can go the other opposite extreme, which is a very blue or a very white light, which would help us on black cars. When we pull a car in here, we typically sit here for a couple minutes and adjust the lights so our eyes can actually see the most amount of defect. And it's individual from person to person. The adjustment might be different. But this is just another thing that we do to help us, because the easier we can help our eyes to see the defects, that helps us to remove those defects.
The OG video rolling here with Scott.
Sold in the US, Canada, or Mexico was built in the US. As of September of last year, every single one of the palm sanders, so our Scorpio line pneumatic palm sanders, was built in this facility. The concept being that if we're going to sell a whole lot of something here, it makes a heck of a lot more sense to make them here than it does to send them over the ocean and make everybody wait forever to get them. But everything you see here is kind of set up modularly, so we can build any one of the tools. We can build the Cyclos. Anybody ever used a Cyclo? A couple of you guys. Which is the company that RUPES bought to create RUPES USA. Little known fact, like we talked about, RUPES first company build plastic housing tools. Cyclo, last company making tools out of all metal. Can't make this stuff up. On average, we pump about 300 to 400 tools out in a week. Everything is hand assembled all the way down to the smallest nut and bolt. So it is a hand built tool. There's a lot done in-house. We are one of the only companies in the world that actually winds their own motors. We do a lot of the manufacturing of hard parts.
Okay, so we just went through all the different movements, the pad movement systems, doing difference between dual action, force rotation, rotary. There's all these great little tidbits that you just don't normally consider that Jason takes us through. And shoot, I've seen him do it 4 times now, and I still picked up a few things. So now we're going out to do some hands-on stuff. So he's going to show us some of the basics of getting set up to do dual action versus force rotation and why. So I'll grab a little bit of footage of that.
I'm not a real particular person, but when you take these cord clips off, let's put them here so that we know where they are. Not that I'm picky. As a random orbital, I'm going to show you 3 things: priming, the application method, and pad cleaning. Now, the application method, we're going to teach you a set of variables, and these are things that you're going to be able to change on the fly. But the priming method is very particular. So the purpose of priming is to prepare this pad and that liquid to do the work we want to do. Now, what a lot of folks do is they take this, squirt some on and start going. Well, until this pad is properly primed, you're not going to get what's called peak performance. In other words, what this combo is capable of doing, you're not going to get there until you properly prime this pad. Priming does 2 things. It warms up the materials, the foam and the liquid, and it puts a thin, even coat of the liquid across the surface of the pad. Without those 2, you're not going to get peak performance. Most of our tools have 6 speed settings. I want you to remember 2 numbers. Speed setting 2 and speed setting 4. So on all of our tools, all of our systems, speed setting 2 is your priming speed. So 4 pea-sized dots on the bigger 21, you might want to do 5, but basically that's that. And then we're going to put the pad on a flat part of the car, usually a flat horizontal part. You're not going to care about defects, you're not caring about anything at this point except getting this pad primed. Speed setting 2, we're going to run it stationary in one place for about 30 seconds. And 30 seconds is not a lot of time until you have 30 people watching you. And pay attention to the pad rotation. You see this mark here? So pay attention to the pad. So as you can see, our 4 pea-sized dots have now become a migration of polish throughout the rest of the pad. This is actually partially primed, but it's begun. I mean, if you look at it this way, you've got polish all over everywhere. So this is what we call a reload. Once you're primed, you're going to do 2, sometimes 1 pea-sized dot. And I guarantee you this is less than what most of you do. More is not better with this. If you over lubricate this pad with product, you're going to do what's called hydroplaning the pad. It'll just skim on the surface and it will not cut, will not finish as effectively. There's 2 objectives to priming. Did anybody tell me what those 2 were?
Coating the surface.
That's 1.
Heating up the foam.
Warming up the foam and the material, the liquid material. So if I just slopped it on my hand and started going, I've done 1 out of the 2. But the important part is every part of this pad has polish. You see it? Even though it's a little bit, that's what I need.
So you mentioned you discovered the paint is soft. How do you sort of tell?
Oh, well, for one, my defects were removed in 30 seconds.
Okay. Cool.
I mean, soft paint defects get removed fast.
Okay.
The softer the paint is, the more you can put a defect in while you're taking one out, even with these tools. Priming fiber pad. Now, fiber pad could be a microfiber pad, could be a wool pad. All right. I could put 4 pea-sized dots on this microfiber, and I could polish down the side of this truck. And on the other end of this truck, I will have 4 pea-sized dots on microfiber. And the reason is microfiber grabs and holds. That's what its job is. And it's going to take this polish and hang on to it. Now the wool does a little bit of that. It doesn't grab and hold as much as microfiber, but it will grab and hold more than foam. Now foam, things migrate through the cells, but I could put 4 pea-sized dots here and probably half this hood, it'll start to begin spreading. So we need to force every fiber to have the compound or polish around the fiber. So how we force that is you take your product, usually while it's on the tool, but you take your product and any way you want to. You can do smiley faces, you can do X's, you can do spiral, whatever you want. The point is it doesn't matter. What you want is compound or polish around the whole thing. And usually this visually looks like, oh my gosh, it takes a lot of product. Then you want to physically spread it around the fibers. And that's what that means. Now what I'm teaching you here is a very structured application, but you need to know it's a set of variables so you can adjust these. We're going to go 3 passes side to side, 50% overlap in your passes. Then we're going to go change direction and do 3 passes up and down, 50% overlap. A pass, for me, is defined as we start on the left, we go to the right, when we come back to the left is 1. So I'm going to do 3 passes this way, 3 passes that way. Stop, wipe the residue, see the result. If it is the intended desired result, do the rest of the car that way. If it's not what I want, like if I didn't get enough defects out, what do we do?
Panic.
you can change a whole list of things to be more aggressive. You can switch the compound out, you can switch the pad out, you can switch your technique out. Now I'm going to go to the other speed setting I want you to remember, which is speed 4. Now this is not the speed I run the whole, run the tool for the whole car. This is my starting speed. The speed dial exists close to your thumb for a reason. On the fly, you can adjust up and down, and it depends on the curve and contour, and you can crank it up, but when you get back to a flat spot, bring it back down to 4. Let 4 be your equilibrium. Let that be the home base.
Don't try and do a half a hood because you're just not going to get the performance there. You're taking something and stretching it over a larger area. Everything's diminished at that point.
But the general rule of thumb is if you want to remove more defects with this type tool, slow down your arm speed. You will get more defect removal the slower you go. This, by the way, your first application on your car is what you consider your test spot. This is not priming, this is your test spot. Your test spot is going to tell you about paint hardness and your finish. I'm trying to tell you that amount of time, look at what it did here. But if you didn't get the defects out or you didn't get the finish you wanted in 6 passes, then you adjust your product combo so that you do. Because I'm here to tell you, if you're doing 10, 15, 20, 30 passes, you are making love to paint.
It's a fetish. It's not polishing anymore.
And you enjoy what you're doing, which is totally cool, but you're going to take a while to get around the car.
But on the foam, because of the gear-driven movement, the fact that this is going to have some steer, we talked about the rotary is going to push you one way or the other. The priming on this looks a little bit different. We need more compound. We need something under the pad to lubricate, right? Different compound. The one that says Miele on it. It's very on the nose, right? But still yellow. Miele pad, slightly lower profile. Anybody got any guesses as to why that is?
Force rotation.
It's the movement, right? If I've taken this pad and put it on here, you ever watch you go to like an NHRA drag event, the tire twists on launch? Same idea. You would give it enough sidewall, this thing is going to take it and twist that pad, which is one to where the pad's out, but also leads to a very unstable, rough ride. So, priming with this is a little different.
So if we did the 4 pea-sized dots, or if we did the butter your bread thing, it would not be as efficient to prime with this movement. So the reason an X is efficient is because if we did 4 pea-sized dots, because of its force rotation, it would only be primed in the radius of where those dots are. So this X gets us there faster.
Same kind of deal, low speed, going to run it in place for just 20 to 30 seconds. Again, the longest 20 to 30 seconds of my life. There's a little bit less contrast on this compound, the Miele stuff to the gel, but you can see, maybe if you guys want to touch, now we've got compound, even between, you can see the deeper spots, obviously it's penetrated more there, but we've got nice even coverage. This tool primes like a dream because of the consistency of that movement. It takes those X's and just goes, it's almost self-priming. Same concept again, once I'm primed. 2.
Now because of the force rotation, you can actually have a little bit faster arm speed with this tool. You don't have to be a slow arm speed. The one point on pressure with this particular tool is if you wanted to have a dial to adjust aggressiveness, it's pressure. So a gear-driven tool like this,
I win.
if you want to improve defect removal, you just push down.
When we talked about what would be a hard to finish paint, rotary was absolutely the worst idea. Miele was a compromise, random orbital as your best option. Here's a perfect example as to why.
Oh yeah.
I cut that defect down more than he did, but now I've got a second step reality.
One real quick thing to point out here with the lights, you can see the very fine defect that's left, a really fine scratch. This is what's left of what we did not remove, but I can actually make, it's pretty funny, I can make it disappear. I removed all the scratches are gone.
This is how Barrett Jackson sells cars.
That's true.
And then they're all back again.
auction lighting's amazing. Every car looks like $1 million on that auction.
So what I did is I wanted to show you something. So what is the choice when you want to get that last 5%? The way my thinking works is I already have these in my hand. I could switch to the white combo, which is less aggressive. But that's swapping pads, swapping liquids, doing this.
Priming it.
But I already have these in my hand. So if I can adjust my technique, what I did was extra pressure slowed down my arm speed.
You can see we got 30 dudes using some new machines for the first time, some for the 100th time, some for the 1000th time. They give them the chance to try melee and the rotary and all the different pad systems, polishing systems.
Any other comments or questions about full-size random orbital polisher? How about melee? Some of you tried melee for the first time. What we did different than they did. They're both gear-driven orbitals. Okay. The differences are. I always say this. We chose the right rotation.
There's a technical reason for that.
Counterclockwise as opposed to clockwise?
When you get that gear-driven rotation, the rotation of the motor is always going to be one direction. Every motor rotates the same way, right? So after you drive that through the transition to here, and then drive it additionally through another gear set to get the gear-driven rotation, you standard motor and put it through, and the output ends up being what the output is. It wasn't up to them, that's what it ended up being.
It reverses the direction. Through
Because
the gear
we
set.
wind our own motors, the melee motor is wound to run in the other direction. It's one of the very few motors I'm aware of that actually rotates counter.
Yeah, the motor itself is going the opposite direction, but we do that because you run that rotation through a gear set which reverses the direction. Now our pad is going the right direction. So another difference between these tools is the orbit size is 8 millimeter, which at the time they came out with that was a standard orbit for a lot of orbital tools, 8 millimeter. We chose 5 millimeter. It's actually a smaller orbit. And everybody goes, "Ooh,
But you guys are a big orbit company.
less aggressive. We got Bigfoots and then we have 5 millimeter. The other thing we did different is the RPM. So flex, 10 orbits per rotation. So every time this pad goes around in one rotation, it's orbiting 10 times. The melee, 14 orbits per rotation. So if you calculate pad velocity, even though our orbit size is smaller, our pad is actually going faster. The reason you felt a user experience difference is one is the direction of the rotation, number one. Orbit size, the smaller orbit, smoother, and then more orbits per rotation. That's why you expect.
With our Pluffle, it can hold 11 times its weight in water. It was the only towel that we had that could do that. And with the twist loops, we're guessing we're going to hit about 14 times its weight with the twist piles because of the absorbency of them. So.
A water bottle is your friend when it comes to pad cleaning. Now this, what I'm showing you right now, is not on the fly. This is like at the end of the car. Unless I'm using microfiber, I use a lot of water when I'm cleaning. But I'll show you both ways so you can see the difference. So using this, which is my top choice, if you can get one of these, it's much better than the compressor. So you see a little bit of pigment in there. That is because of the pigment that's in the yellow polish. That pigment is okay. What we've got is the compound residue and the paint residue is gone. But if you spray a little bit of water, I'll show you. It cleans it a lot faster and better.
The water also aids in dust.
Yeah, what it does, yeah, thank you. So when you're blowing stuff, you really got to be mindful. You're taking abrasive particles, spent compound, paint residue, and you're blowing it. You got to be careful you're not blowing it at somebody's eyes, and that's why I always clean pads down towards the ground. But the water adds some mass. It actually encapsulates your particles so that when you do blow it off, it drops to the ground fast. Laid down fiber is not the problem. In fact, with microfiber, it adds surface area. So if all your fibers are fluffed up like this, you're using the tips of the fibers, Which has more surface area, this or this?
Laying down.
Yeah, so laid down fiber is not a problem, but look at this pad. See that pasty, clumpy, peanut buttery, whatever look? That is time to clean the pad. So laid down fiber is not a problem, but when you start seeing that glazed look. So same thing, I'm going to very quickly cleaned all that stuff off. This is how you clean on the fly. Water I use at the end of the car or the end of the day because it more thoroughly cleans. And I'll actually repeat it. Now this is what you do at the end of the car. You see how that half is now more clean? Now the water added moisture, but I will set that on a counter, let it air dry. It is ready to use on the next car.
It doesn't have to be washed. You don't need to do any kind of dishwater, any kind of nothing.
It is ready to go. Now foam, because the saturation is much deeper, I actually do a combined approach where you agitate a little bit with a brush. That pad's ready to use on the next car. It's still moist, but you'll air dry that and use it tomorrow.
So we just did, let's see, we did pads, talked microfiber, microfiber towels with the Rag Company guys. What else did we do? Edge work. So we went out and saw Jason Rose talk a little bit about pad cleaning. And now next step is to get the guys on the machine. So everybody's going to be out there. You can see them out there scrambling to get behind a Nano or a 15 or a LHR 15 or a Mini. So getting behind those machines or using those machines to test that edge work.
Pretty much from this point forward, it's kind of hang out, play, eat, mix, mingle, whatever you want, and then we'll shut it down at some point later. Back to polishing or eating, whatever one you want to do, or both at the same time.
Edging the tool slightly, you can understand the balance of the tool, right? So it's not fighting you. And then you can feel it and then pick the speed. It's a nice way to learn how the tool moves.
Thank you.
So if you're lefty, you probably want to switch, right?
Yeah. Yep. Just relax, and you feel. Then you can feel how that subtle change. You're not really changing pressure. You're just using the tool to glide around the paint. It's a great way to teach somebody how to use the forced action, because if they dive in with product in the pad, it's too aggressive. So now introduce your other pad or your other hand in there, and then just glide it around the paint.
I struggle from pad flatness too for the longest time.
Yikes, what a crazy day. Another day of awesome. I hopefully captured a little bit of a different angle this time versus last time, but yeah, it's 30 people I think is the perfect amount. Maybe I should charge more and have less people. That's what I need to do. But anyway, this was so great, and it's cool to see everybody's kind of not sure what to think or what's going to go down. And now it's 6:30, and everybody's still out there. Jason is a gosh darn machine. Jason literally does not stop. So people are out there doing edge work. He's, I'm sure, showing them stuff to blow their minds, and we had amazing barbecue and the whole thing. So tomorrow is another day. We'll capture some more footage, and yeah, we'll keep this going. What happens when the force pulls you back, your foot naturally comes off the gas. You have to keep your foot to the floor, foot to the floor.